stop right there. Before you say another word in English, I need to ask you something that might completely change how you think about speaking. Are you one of those people who freezes up every time you want to speak English because you are worried about making a grammar mistake? Or are you someone who thinks grammar does not matter at all as long as people understand you? Well, what if I told you that both of these approaches could be sabotaging your English speaking progress? Stay with me because in the next 5 minutes, I am going to reveal the truth about grammar and English speaking that most teachers will never tell you. Let me start with a story that will blow your mind. Last week, I met 2 English learners. Sarah had been studying grammar rules for 3 years. She could explain the difference between present perfect and past perfect better than most native speakers. But when I asked her to have a simple conversation, she could barely say 2 sentences without stopping to think about grammar rules. On the other hand, there was Ahmed. He had never opened a grammar book in his life. He spoke with confidence, made tons of mistakes, but guess what? Everyone understood him perfectly, and he was having amazing conversations with native speakers every single day. So here is the million-dollar question that I want you to think about. Which approach is actually helping these learners achieve their goal of speaking English fluently? The answer might surprise you, and it definitely surprised me when I first discovered it. You see, there are 2 camps of English learners, and they are fighting a war that has been going on for decades. The first camp says grammar is absolutely essential. They believe that without proper grammar, you will sound unprofessional, confuse people, and never be taken seriously in important situations like job interviews or business meetings. They have a point, do they not? But wait, before we dive deeper, I want to know something from you. Have you ever been in a situation where you knew exactly what you wanted to say in English, but you stopped yourself because you were not sure if your grammar was correct? If yes, type grammar freeze in the comments right now. I'm curious to see how many of you have experienced this. Now, the second camp has a completely different philosophy. They say grammar is overrated and that communication is the only thing that matters. They argue that even native speakers make grammar mistakes all the time, so why should learners worry about it? They believe that focusing too much on grammar rules actually prevents you from speaking naturally and confidently. And you know what? They also have a valid point. Think about it. When you speak your native language, do you consciously think about grammar rules? Of course not. You just speak naturally because your brain has internalized the patterns through years of exposure and practice. But here is where things get really interesting. Both camps are missing a crucial piece of the puzzle. The truth is that grammar is neither completely essential nor completely useless. It is actually a tool, and like any tool, it can either help you or hurt you depending on how you use it. Let me explain this with a simple analogy. Imagine grammar as the foundation of a house. If you try to build a house without any foundation, it will collapse. But if you spend all your time perfecting the foundation and never actually build the house, you will never have a place to live. The key is finding the right balance. Here is something that might shock you. I used to be a grammar perfectionist. I would spend hours studying grammar rules, doing exercises, and memorizing exceptions. But when it came to actual speaking, I was a disaster. I was so afraid of making mistakes that I barely spoke at all. Does this sound familiar to you? So what changed everything for me? I discovered the secret that successful English speakers use. They follow what I call the progressive grammar approach. Here is how it works. First, they start speaking immediately without worrying about perfect grammar. They focus on getting their message across, even if they make mistakes. This builds their confidence and fluency. But here is the key part that most people miss. They do not ignore grammar completely. Instead, they gradually improve their grammar while continuing to speak. Think of it like learning to drive a car. You do not wait until you have memorized every traffic rule before you start driving. You learn the basic rules, start driving with supervision, and gradually become better at following all the rules while driving smoothly. The same principle applies to English speaking. You start with basic grammar knowledge, begin speaking immediately, and then gradually refine your grammar while maintaining your speaking practice. This way, you develop both fluency and accuracy at the same time. But there is something even more important that I need to tell you. The level of grammar accuracy you need depends entirely on your goals and the situation you are in. If you are having a casual conversation with friends, small grammar mistakes are completely fine. But if you are giving a presentation at work or attending a job interview, higher grammar accuracy becomes more important. Now I want to ask you something personal. What is your biggest English speaking goal right now? Is it to have casual conversations with friends, to excel in your career, or to pass an important exam? Share your goal in the comments because understanding your specific goal will help you determine how much grammar focus you actually need. So here is my final advice for you. Stop treating grammar as your enemy or your master. Treat it as your helpful assistant. Start speaking English today even if your grammar is not perfect. Make mistakes, learn from them, and gradually improve. Remember, the goal is not to speak perfect English. The goal is to communicate effectively and confidently. If this video helped you understand the real role of grammar in English speaking, give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more practical English learning tips. And remember, every expert was once a beginner who was not afraid to make mistakes. Your English speaking journey starts with your very next conversation, not with your next grammar lesson.